July 22nd, 2021, Guru Poornima Day is just around us. Hopefully at the end, instead of people asking me questions, I was hoping they'd give me the answers and let me guess the questions. This journey is so unique for each and every one of us. I just lost the big screen. Is that because now I got the whole screen? Everything shifted. I'm not seeing Gene, but anyway, as a little boy, I wanted to know God. I wanted to serve God. I wanted to be the master. I did not do it for praise or blame or for money, but I wanted to know God, to serve God incognito. I'm doing my memoirs, and one of the titles for my book is Incognito. I often say, breathe in God, breathe out love. Breathe in God, breathe out love. Breathe in God, breathe out love. The idea that each and every one of us is on our own unique journey, our own sacred journey. As was said many years ago, there was no one to know me, so I separated myself from myself so I could love myself, said God. This is all a drama, a game. Our source is love. Our goal is love. Breathe in, Swami, breathe out love. Incognito, not for money, nothing wrong with money, or for fame, nothing wrong with fame, but to be a doer and let God work through us rather than. So basically, here's a quick story. Is everybody, are you hearing me okay? If you are, just raise your hand. Very good. Okay, I'm going to speak mostly in California, English. I was born in East LA in Boyle Heights at a very young age in a hospital that was torn down 5 days after I was born. My mother was in menopause. She had 3 daughters, and I lost the baby about 2 years before I was born. When I came along, she was in menopause, heart trouble, partial hysterectomy, and on and on and on. They thought I was gas. They were right about that. But they thought she should have an abortion because of her fragile health. I came out almost 12 pounds carrying a laptop. Nobody knew what I was doing. Anyway, the stories go on. Boyle Heights was a tough neighborhood, as some of you may know. I went to grammar school down the street, and as a little boy, I was skating everywhere on roller skates. I used to jump over walls and over benches. Nowadays, when they do that stuff on skis, it's extraordinary. But I always, again, know God, serve God, master, beyond praise and blame. That was the journey that I started as a little boy. I was a ventriloquist. Made puppets. I did all kinds of fun things. I was very good with clay. My homeroom teacher, when he wrote my graduation from grammar school, to a good clay worker and a cheerful citizen. I was always in gratitude. Life was such an extraordinary journey. I spent time in Vista Del Mar, an orphanage where my mom would get sick. I was in many different places and different times. And all those were opportunities to expand and meet a lot of other people, even though it would appear like I was a challenged kid, which I still am. So basically, that's sort of the beginning of the journey that's still going on. How did I learn about Sathya Sai Baba? Many years ago in 1975, I was at a workshop with Ken Keyes Jr., who wrote this Handbook to Higher Consciousness, who I met up in Berkeley. And Ken started Living Love Foundation in Berkeley. He was giving a talk in the Bronx or in Brooklyn. I asked, how can I continue the meditation? He said, go to Hilda Charlton and St. Luke's Church, and she'll carry on. Went to St. Luke's. She was talking about Sai Baba's miracles. Everybody's talking about Sai Baba's man. He did this, he did that, and so forth and so on. I wanted a tattoo, but I thought of a different one, so it changed. I'm being silly. Hilda talked about Sai Baba's miracles. I said, I want to know what he stands for, not the miracles and not the stories. I asked some people, if instead of asking me questions at the end, just give me the answers, let me guess the questions. But what I wanted to say was, Hilda one day had a little book of Sai Baba's sayings. And she says, whoever comes closest to the number I have in mind, and 320 people gathered here, who were in this little book of Sai Baba's sayings. Well, I had just said, what does he say? And she said, okay. And my arm shot up and I said, 27, Hilda. She said, that's the number. Won this little book. I opened it up, and the first thing it came to was Directions to Prashanti Nilayam in 1975. Story goes on from there. 1976, I decide I'm working in medical electronics. My background was in everything. Whatever it is that I wanted to do, I ended up doing it. As a little boy, at the age of 15, I was the head usher at the Paramount Hollywood Theater across from the Grauman's Chinese Theater. So I had all the theaters, all the movies were free for me. I could go wherever I wanted, do whatever I did, but I was in service. I was always doing some work to make it better for others. And that was 75, 19, that was when I was 15 years old. Okay, jumping back. My mom passed away around 14, 15. I ended up staying with different sisters. I'm up in San Fernando Valley, and I'm guided to go to the next step. My first job was at Orbach's department store in Los Angeles, in the apartment I lived in with my mother before she passed, became a Japanese store, and then it became Orbach's. And when I was 17, I was the head of ladies' dresses in C department of Orbach's department store. I dressed the mannequins and all that kind of stuff, on and on and on. That's just down the street from the La Brea Tar Pits, which is another story for another time. Stories go on. I mean, I got stories are just so much fun. I have so many wonderful memories now. I was just 84 years old on July the 13th. And again, I feel like I'm the youngest person I know. I look in the mirror and I get a second opinion. What I wanted to say was that I then went to work for Hughes Aircraft Company, Howard Hughes. When I turned old enough to be able to do that, I worked on testing radars and stuff like that. That's another story, another time. I used to drive 60 miles a day to go from LACC, where I was going to junior college, to Howard Hughes's place in El Segundo, swing shift, working at night, going to LACC in the daytime, falling asleep in the front row of of Psych 101. Teacher said, "Why are you sleeping?" I said, "Well, I've worked all night. I drive 60 miles a day. If I wanted not to hear what she had to say, I would sleep in the back of the class. Only grade me on the final exam because I want to see if nocturnal training really works." I always was having fun wherever I was doing. Anyway, I got an A in Psych 101 at LACC. It took me 3 years to get my 2-year degree, another 4 years, another 5 years before I graduated from California State College in Los Angeles. Okay, enough of that stuff. Swami, again, Hilda Charles introduced me to Sathya Sai Baba in 1975, 1976. I'm working at a medical electronics company, which is selling technology to in electromyography, electrodiagnosis, traveling to hospitals, doctors all over the place. 1976, I really wanted to go see Sai Baba in India. I have not been there. This is just a few months after I learned who he was. And then I went to England, and I'm going to shorten this. Went to Stonehenge, passed through a telescope that captured the Sputnik stuff from Russia. Big sign, "Don't enter government property." I tell my boss driving me, "Drive in, get further inner gate. Don't government property. Don't drive." A guy comes out and says, "You're not supposed to be here. This government property." I said, "My name is Jack Lenchiner. I'm an amateur radio." I was one of the youngest ham license operators in the country at that time. And he said, "My name is my lunch so." He said, "Look, I'm having lunch. Wait a few minutes. Can you wait 10 minutes and I'll bring you in?" So we got an antenna, walked in the antenna, and then came out. We were on our way to Stonehenge, went on to Stonehenge, and then on to, and then back. And I decided I was on my way to India, but I'd go to Scotland, stayed at Finhorn. I had a wonderful trip there with Peter and Eileen Caddy, that founded Finhorn, and then on to Israel. When I got to Israel, I wandered through Jerusalem without a guide and ended up in the Holy Sepulchres, where Christ was interned for 3 days. I meditated in silence, again, wanted to know God, serve God incognito. And then I go back to where I'm staying, overlooking the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. And that story can be elaborated another time, but I spent 2 weeks celebrating Passover and Easter in Jerusalem on my way to see Swami in India. Get to Bangalore in April of 1976. Swami, it's April, it's hot, 110 degrees in the shade. Swami's not giving darshan. He's not giving darshan because it's summer school, but he does. I'm staying in a hotel, West End Hotel. In there was Jack Hislop's sister, who wrote the book Recapitulations. She says, "Swami is exploring where they're building the school, so we can go there and watch where they're doing the construction." So we go in there, and then I'm standing, where the men's side, and I walk to the gate. They're giving these little packets of vibhuti, and I never had a little packet of vibhuti. I said, "Hey, wow, I got this one little packet that I usually give when people leave." I said to, and then I went and sat down waiting to see Swami for the first time. Then somebody, an old-time devotee, called out, "Is there a healer here?" Well, Peter and Kelly, when I got to Finhorn, they were healed that night somehow. I wasn't the doer. I was just showing up. In any case, and then she says again, "Is there a healer here?" I say nothing. I get up to this old devotee, older devotee, the little packet I just got. They just give her one little packet as you're leaving. I gave it to her and I sat down in silence. I gave that packet of vibhuti, not even understanding what it is that was given to me, gave it to her and sat in silence. Swami walks over with a big smile. He makes vibhuti under my nose. He gives it to the man to my left. I have a note for Swami that I wrote with 10 things. The first, second, and third of the 10 things was, "I wish to speak to you about." My first note to Swami, "I wish to speak to you about clarity of thought, word, and deed. I wish to speak to you about clarity of thought, word, and deed. Swami takes my note. He walks a few feet. He walks a few feet in front of me, looks at me, and his first words through this ears was, you wish to speak to you. You wish to speak to you. That was the beginning of the journey. During that first trip in 1976, it's very, very hot. We used to sit under a tree. Swami on Sundays walks up and gives everybody darshan at the sunrise. I start to meditate, and there are flies and mosquitoes, and it's 110 degrees in the shade. And all I can do is keep looking up at Swami's room. Just keep looking up at Swami's room. Just keep focusing on Swami. And then I go into some deep, whatever it was, I awaken 4 hours later, and there's no ants, there's no mosquitoes. My body is totally at peace. That was my first trip to Sathya Sai Baba. That can be elaborated for another time. As I'm leaving on Sunday, I'm only there for 6 days, I think, the first trip. As I'm leaving on Sunday, as Swami's walking up to give us darshan during sunrise, his aura is lighting up the whole wall above his head. His aura is lighting up the whole wall above his head. And I'm in my bed here now with a little iPad that I'm using and headphone. And I say, look at Swami's aura. And only one other person that Sunday acknowledged that. That was my first trip to Prashanti. I go back to New York, on and on and on. I then think it's time for me to go back to see Swami. It's 1977, a year later. David Hearn Thomas, who was a friend of mine, who I introduced to Sai Baba, went to India, came back, and he wanted me to be his best man. He was going to marry Virginia and wanted me to come to India with him and Virginia in October of 1977. So I ended up going to India, gives me the ticket. There I am. It's holiday. The Indian Vedic chanting goes on all day. You know how long it takes to get to India, and you're up all that time, and then you're up the whole day. And the last chanting of the Vedic scholars in the Purna Chandra in 1977 was Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. It's still in my heart today, as I heard it in October 1977. Can everybody say that that's listening now? Now we say Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Can we all just say Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu right now? Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy and in peace. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. So that was my 77. Swami walks through the Purna Chandra. He's not letting anybody touch his feet. He comes up in front of me, and I fall over and I kiss his feet. And I fall over. I never kissed anybody's feet that I knew of in this life. And then I go to my room with David and Virginia and the other people, and Kasturi shows up. And Kasturi is doing poetry in our room. Outside the room, by the way, was Faith Hollander, who was in the Manhattan Center, and she was present there in Prashanti Nilayam and at the beginning of the Sai Center in Hollywood and New York and so on. Anyway, am I talking too slowly? Is anybody falling asleep? Okay. So basically, honey, blessed souls, I called you honey, blessed souls. Kasturi is extraordinary. He was like the most divine mother. There's a videotape I did of Swami's Kastori's talks, which is on YouTube. It was just subtitled of him talking the Annunciation poem. So you can all see that. Just do a Jack Lenchiner search and stuff will come up on YouTube. And Ted Henry's interviewed me a number of times, and Sojourns and Sidecast. I have about 300 hours of videos of Swami over the years, which I'm still working to get them archived. Most people are too busy doing other things, but it's one of the projects that's going on. 1977, 1978. Oh, in 1977, the last Abhishekam with Swami with his hand in the vase. I filmed that on a Super 8 camera, high 8 video camera. It wasn't Super 8, it was a high 8 video camera. And I gave that camera with the video to Indala Shah. I never saw it again, never showed up, never got it back. But it was the last Abhishekam with Swami making the booty out of the vase that we've all seen this many, many times. That precious trip, 1978, I came back with a video camera and videotaped Swami's talk to overseas devotees in 1978. That's on the interview with subtitles now too, where Swami speaks English for 40 minutes. Before that interview, before I spoke to Swami in my 78th visit with a video camera, above where they're doing the construction of the college, there is a balancing rock on the top of the hill. And I'm up at the balancing rock where two of the guys helping me carry the equipment were down at the bottom, and women are going with vases of cement and other things on their heads by construction. And I say to Swami in my heart, not on Zoom. I say to Swami in my heart, not in Zoom, that Swami, I've came 1,000 steps towards you. How about taking one step for me? How about an interview? Just then, one of the old-time devotees is in the interview room with Swami, and Swami says, "Go get Lenchiner. He's at the top of the bouncing rock, and bring him here." I'm up at the bouncing rock. Within seconds, this is really out of time now. Within seconds, this devotee comes and calls me down. "Jack, come down." I don't know if somebody got hurt or not. He says, but he says, "Swami wants to see you." That was the first time that I was in Swami's interview room, answered a bunch of questions, gave a life reading to two other people helping me. And then later on in 1978, video for overseas devotees, Swami spoke English for like 40 minutes. I videotaped the whole thing. I used to stand up in the interview and Swami said, "Sit down, sit down." So 3 times Swami said, "Sit down." So I wanted to keep videotaping Swami. So I gave the camera to somebody that didn't know how to use the camera. They kept looking out the window instead of at Swami. And the first thing is a devotee comes in that Swami has a ring that he made for him. And Swami, he says and there's lots of scratches on the ring of Swami's picture. And he says to Swami, "Swami, I'm very careless." And pointing up a ring with lots of scratches on Swami's face. And Swami says, "Yes, you're very, very careless." Many years later, Swami made me a similar ring, silver with his picture with lots of scratches. When I showed Swami the ring with the scratches, what Swami said to me, "Very nice, very nice," because I thought every scratch was Swami taking some of my karma. How we view things is extraordinary. The more we come from that wanting to know God, serve God incognito, the gifts just keep coming uniquely to each and every one of us. So basically, I mentioned the interview that went around the world. It's subtitled Swami's Talk for Devotees. There's videos of Hilda Charlton talking about her experiences with the interfaith gathering in New York. I became an interfaith minister, and I used to perform marriages in New York as an ordained interfaith minister, but I just wanted to know how to serve and how to connect all of it together. So that's a lot of stuff. Anyway, 1978, the interview was extraordinary. And then the story goes on to many other times and visits. Basically, in the video, towards the end of the interview of 1978, I'm sitting on the ground. This other devotee that's not familiar with using how to use the camera is videotaping. I'm sitting down. And one of the first thing I said to Swami during the interview was, Swami, I experience you more in America than I do here in Prashanti. Swami, I experience you more in America than I do here in Swanti, in Prashanti, Nilium. I'm saying this to Swami directly, the whole group. And the stories, again, can be elaborated. I'm talking too much. Everybody's still awake. Okay, basically, at the end of that video, I'm sitting at Swami's feet, and Swami says, and I say, Swami, once again, Swami, I experience you more in America than I do here in Prashanti. And Swami's response to me was, this is unbelievable. He says, that's not my power. That's your devotion. The avatar is saying it's not his power, it's your devotion. He's talking to each and every one of us. He's not talking to this old man. It's not his power, it's your devotion. Our devotion opens our hearts, connecting to the one who's already in our hearts. That was 1978. The videos go on and on. Greetings from Prashanti Nilium. Again, Guru Poornima's day come. Awake, arise, wake up to the fact that you are not an ordinary human being, but you are divine. This is the work of a true guru. That's Swami's discourse of 23rd of July, tomorrow morning, that was on the internet today. I told you about Hilda and the others, St. Luke's Church, Scotland, on the trip all the way to Prashanti, and medication, David Hearns Thomas. The video really got close to Kasturi. Many years ago, I have about 300 hours of videotaping in service of Sathya Sai Baba. A lot of those are in the archives in Prashanti, and still about 150 hours are yet to be done, still waiting for devotees. Once I'm flying with Swami, and in front of me is a couple of old-time devotees. When I'm in Madras, I'm following Swami in Madras, and Swami says to me inwardly, stop following him, go to the airport, buy a ticket, and come to Bombay. So I don't know if you know how difficult it is to be holding a camera. Two guys are helping you carry the camera, and you hear Swami inwardly say, stop, go to the airport, buy a ticket. I go to the airport with the video equipment and everything else, big signs, no photography, no video, nobody stops me. And I get in the airplane, and then Swami enters the plane a little later. He's sitting in the first row of the front of the aircraft. I'm back about 10 rows behind. Phyllis, Crystal, and Sydney are sitting in front of me. I have my video camera, and they open up the Times of India, blocking my camera. I think of Swami, it's almost like a divine joke. Instead of responding to them, hey, you're interfering, I just sort of laugh inwardly. Then Sydney pulls down the picture. Then behind Swami, in the front of the airplane, is another devotee holding up the Times of India, blocking Swami in the first row. So I laugh again, and I said, what is he reading? I zoom in manually, camera to the head, the thing he's reading, and it's the editorial in the Times of India, and it says, The old leadership is dying. The new leadership is yet to be born. Wow. The old leadership is, the new leadership is yet to be born. Just then, the second devotee puts the newspaper down. There's Swami looking out at like infinity out of the womb. That little piece of video is still around somewhere. Anyway, Bombay was extraordinary, videotaped and so forth and so on. I ended up videotaping in different places, again, in service, not I doing it. I never wanted to make a film on Swami. I did not want to make a film on Swami. I was not a filmmaker. I wanted to preserve Swami's words to all of us, Swami's message to all of us, not to cut it up and, oh, Swami said this and Swami said that. And that's what I've done all the time. So it wasn't like I'm making a final movie like Richard and Janet Bach did, which I used to go visit them in Hollywood and in their homes in the Valley. That's another story, another time. I don't know what to say there. Does anybody need a drink of water? Everybody okay?
We're okay, Jack.
Okay, so basically, there's once I'm showing films at Richard and Janet Bach's in the Valley, and there's a Superman commercial on the TV, and I'm having video just seeing Swami on TV. Then it breaks to Superman faster than a speed of bullet, then back to Swami in Richard and Janet Bach's home in the Valley. And that happens twice. I mean, again, Swami's always playing with us. The more we're in joy and love and service, incognito or not, however we choose to, is our own unique journeys. But that was part of the fun stuff at Richard and Janet Bach's. There's another man filming the big Hulk, and I tell him about subtle energies, and he's a side devotee as well, and he's filming the big Hulk, not too far from where Richard and Janet Bach are living in the Valley. And I tell him, when you're in front of the big Hulk, if you wave your hand down again and again, you'll block his energy, the governing and central meridians where energy flows up and down. So the guy's filming the big Hulk. He can swing on the big Hulk's arm. He's so strong. But then I say, just go down three times. And then the big Hulk can't hold his arm up. Then I said, go up, go up, go up. Always focus up. And then the big Hulk's strength comes back. Again, as Swami's blessing the whole world. It's, we really don't realize how extraordinary each and every one of us is. How each and every one of us is. We're all part of that divine gift. The more we focus on Swami, not what Jack says or this guru or that, everything is just the way it is. So be grateful to everyone. But anyway, that was a number of videos. I'm in 60th birthday and 65th birthday. I'm in charge of the overseas devotees, filmmakers, photographers, and videographers from around the world. On the 65th birthday, it's 40 days of dust and rain, no water, almost 1 million people from all over the world at Swami's 65th birthday. And it's towards the end. My next door neighbor asked me if I got an interview. I was about to leave. It's in October. I said, no, it's people from all over the world. Swami doesn't need to give me an interview. But I said, Swami, if I've wasted any water, may it return to the wells, and may the dust settle and the plants grow. And I didn't realize it, but I didn't come back the next year. But when I did come back that morning, everything was green. Oh, when I left on the 65th birthday, a month later, when the taxi driver came to bring me back to the airport, it started to rain. started to rain after 40 days of just dust. And I was so grateful. I was, as I'm leaving for Shanti Nilayam, there's a vertical rainbow over Prashanti as I'm going back to the airport to go home. Wow. That was the 65th birthday. When I come back, Castori's in the hospital and he's about to leave. I don't come back the next year, I come back a year later. And when I get back, Castori's in the hospital and it's like the end of his life. He passes that day. I videotape his cremation at the Chitrabati River with 50 other people. It's my 50th birthday at that time too. And I'm having a birthday party. I'm living on a boat, 79th Street Boat Base in New York. And on my 50th birthday, 50 people show up. I ask everybody to have say a prayer for themselves, for their families, and for the whole world. And at the end of my 50th birthday in the 79th Street Boat Basin, I have 47 cards of people's wishes for themselves, their family, and for the whole world. And 3 people called me long distance to make the 50, one from New York, one from Minnesota, and one from St. Louis, Bill Harvey. And on the flight on the 50th to India, the 3 guys that called me long distance on my birthday, plus the 47 cards I had of everybody's wishes, were on the flight to go back to Swami back to Swami's. Again, wanting to serve, wanting to share, it just keeps happening and happening and happening. I took those 47 cards and the 3 guys, we all got darshan. I stayed, and that story could be elaborated another time, but that's a fun story too. I think I need to drink something too. You gave me a good idea. Would you just breathe in Swami and breathe out love of them? Good suggestion to drink some water. So here we are. It's 10:45. Oh, it's 7:45 your time. Connect to Swami in our hearts. This idea of Guru Poornima Day, really, Swami's right there in our hearts. Just, it's time to be out of the mind and in the heart, out of the mind and in the heart, and we can have lots of questions and answers and everything else. We all, every one of us listening now, have access to connect, ask your questions to Swami, be ready for the answers uniquely to you. That's really, I hope, will be the message, one of the messages. Once Al Drucker is over in my room in Prashanti Nilayam, and I'm sitting on the floor of my room, and there's a little block representing the United Nations. In the meditation room of the United Nations, there's a big block representing the whole world. And in a dream, I'm dreaming that I'm on my floor in my apartment in Prashanti, and I have a little block representing the whole world. I'm going over it with 3x5 cards when I would give a talk on Sai Baba centers and stuff. And Vibhuti is manifesting outside of the 3x5 card. And Al Drucker comes on and says, "What are you doing, Jack?" And I say, "I'm just doing what I do." And the Vibhutis come in. And Al Drucker says in the dream, "You're not supposed to do that. Swami does that." I said, "Al, I'm just doing what I do." And in that same dream, there's a big glass room and 3 women trying to distract me while I'm doing my talk, which is part of the fun. And then in the dream, I taste the Vibhuti that was coming out of the 3x5 cards, and it's different from any Vibhuti that I've ever tasted. And then when I awaken in my room in Prashanti Nilayam, there's the Vibhuti on my lips. There's the Vibhuti on my lips from the depth of the dream. And then I go to darshan, and Swami walks up to me with a big smile. He makes vibhuti. He takes it and he puts it in my mouth. It's the same vibhuti in the depth of the dream that I awakened from my room in Prashanti Nilayam with the vibhuti on my lips, from his hand to these lips. These are some sacred memories. I'm just happy to share this with all you guys. But I mean, that was one of the dreams. Now, we started this with the Gayatri Mantra. I used to love to do the Gayatri Mantra. And one day I'm in Prashanti Nilayam and Swami's giving darshan. And I say to Swami in my heart, Swami, I want to do 108 Gayatri mantras. And whoever you're standing in front of when I finish 108, would you call them in for an interview? Boy, that's unbelievable. So I do 108. Swami's giving a whole darshan. Whoever he's standing in front of when I finish my 108, he calls him in for an interview. Unbelievable, man. So much fun. I also, when I went to England and Glastonbury, I was guided to go around the tour in England when King Arthur and Guinevere and all that used to hang out. And I went around the tour in Glastonbury 108 times during the Gayatri Mantra. I was also guided by Sir George Trevelyan in England, a Sai devotee, that told me that there's a Dramanon in this sacred chapel in France, and there's a Dramanon. And when I went to that church, in that cathedral, I went around doing the Gayatri Mantra. When I went to Glastonbury, I did 108 Gayatri mantras and everything else. And when I finished the 108 in England and Glastonbury, I was guided to go to the Chalice Well, and I met a Sai devotee at the Chalice Well. Can you imagine the synchronicity? And that's a story again for another time. But the 108 was always so precious, the Gayatri Mantra. Once I asked Swami, what's the message for the West? And this is a face-to-face interview with Swami. And Swami says, be good, do good, see good, tell others. Swami said, be good, do good, see good, tell others. He doesn't mean in words, he means in actions. And that's for all of us. And that reminds me of once when Swami is passing out watches on the veranda. I'm sitting on the veranda and he gives everybody a watch there. And then he's passing a watch to somebody else, but it bounces, he drops it and bounces off my head, goes behind me. Without looking, I reach behind me and I catch the watch and I play like I'm going to throw it at Swami, and he plays like he's going to slap me. That was to remind us to watch our words, our actions, our thoughts, our character, our hearts. To watch our words, our thought, watch our words, our actions, hearts. And there's the whole thing I did in the watch log that's available. I used to give talks when I was out in California at the Sai retreats. I gave a talk on the watch log and passed those out in little cards and everything else. Again, for another time. Rings. I told you about the guy with the ring with the scratches. Swami said, I'm very careless, Swami. Yes. When I showed Swami the ring with all the scratches, Swami said, very good. Because I thought every scratch was him taking some of my karma. Every scratch was him taking some of my karma. So I wasn't worried that I was losing the ring of the gift. And yeah, I mean, just what a precious memory. And then Swami made many rings for me at different times, made me a gold ring. And it only had, and I said, Swami, make another ring. Can I have a picture with you and me on the ring? And Swami makes another ring, but it's only him standing straight up. But when I'm wearing the ring on my left hand, I can't see Swami because he's at an angle. He's standing straight up. I said, Swami, could you tilt your face so you're looking me in the eye and not over my shoulder? I'm saying this silently. Anyway, many years later, I'm in the inner room. Swami makes another ring, but it's only his picture. But he's tilted, so he's looking me in the eye and not over my shoulder. But Ilse Cowan, no, Indra Devi comes to New York. She's giving a talk, a gathering. They're not all Sai devotees. And she says, I want to raise some money to build a temple for Sai Baba in India. I say to Indra Devi, I drive around in my camper I had, as well as the boat I lived in. And I said, we don't talk about raising money in Swami's name, so please correct it. She corrected it. And it was really fine. The next day I'm walking down the Hudson River, and there's Swami's ring with just his face, and his face disappears totally from his ring. I said, maybe I shouldn't have said that to Indra Devi. Maybe it was none of my business. But then as I'm walking in Riverside Drive in New York, there in Swami's face, as a reflection of my face in his form. That was the original request, but took a while before it happened. That was another one of the rings. I have pictures of all these things. There's a gathering in San Diego that of Sai devotees, and Michael Goldstein is running that. And I say, can I come? I'm a center advisor for the UN and for Washington, D.C. He says, no, this is only for the center presidents. I said, check with Swami if I should come or not. Phil Goslin shows up and he gives me a ride. Goldstein says, yeah, you can come. Phil Goslin gives me a ride. We go out there together, we stay. And that's when I talk about how can we archive Swami's talks. And it's still a project that's going on. And that's still going on from that day. Again, that's another story for another ring. In the ring, when I said, Swami, should I go to LA for the meeting? LA manifested on the ring. Then I said, Swami, I'm not going to LA, I'm going to California. The LA merged to become a CIA or a CA, California. But then it became a CIA, Concentrated Integrated Awareness. Concentrated Integrated Awareness is what the ring said. I have pictures of all these changes in the ring. When I moved into this apartment about 6 years ago, on the wall, Swami's foot in light appeared. Swami's foot in light appeared. I'll get it another time. I think Gene's coming on. It's towards the end of this particular gathering, but these stories go on. Perhaps we can show it at another time, another place. Gene, your face just showed up. Your message, sir.
Jack, we want to thank you very much. These are wonderful stories about Swami. What's probably the single most exciting thing that ever happened to you from Swami? Of all the years you knew him, what's the most interesting single thing that you think would be the most fascinating thing?
The idea that Swami is the doer. We're just part of the unfold. There's so many stories, God. One single thing. I think I shared about 12 different things. The picture with Swami's arm around me, which is how you sent out for this group, with his arm around me and mine around his, that he signed. The picture of me with the group, with my hands on my forehead, that was extraordinary. I say, Swami, can I have a picture of you making vibhuti with light pulsating out of your hand? I'm holding his feet. He says, don't sleep there. I take my hands and I kiss them as I'm kissing his feet. I put my hands on my forehead, and just then Swami makes vibhuti. The guy from Sai Towers takes a picture, 300 millimeters zoom lens on his camera, of Swami making vibhuti with light pulsating out of his hand. Goes on and goes on and goes on. He is that's just one of many. But you've sent pictures, Gene, to everybody of arm in arm. Once I'm going on Long Island and there's some Sai devotees and I want to go out to the surf, and I'm out there, and a guy that I'm staying with, a lawyer, says, oh, just watch the tides and you'll be okay. I'm way out being pulled by something and a big wave is about to crash over me. All I can do, and I'm, when a wave lands on top of you, sort of roll over again and again. all I do is just say Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. I say with Swami's message, and before I know it, I'm all the way to shore, and I hear, now stand up, as though I'm being picked up in front of this lawyer. And I said, did you see that? And I could have drowned. I could have been blown away. I stayed with Swami's name. I stayed with Swami's name. And that's just one of many, many, many stories that just I'm reminded today.
Jack, thank you so much. We really, really, really appreciate it. And like I said before, Jack, it's 10 o'clock there now. And so 11 o'clock there now. So if you want to go to bed, you won't hurt our feelings if you go to bed. But if you want to stick around, we're going to have some bhajans now.
Yeah, let's do our bhajans. And I'm sticking around. I'm wide awake. If I was asleep, I'd be in silence. No, wait a minute. If I'm talking, that's because I'm asleep. If I'm awake, that's when I'm in silence. Blessings, Sairam. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy and at peace.